All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Tutorials with Cam. I'm your host, Cam. This week we're doing furniture and appliances and things that are related to furniture and appliances. Most of what I have here is approximately the same scale. There's some fluctuation between what I would consider minifig scale, not actual minifig scale, but like, stick a minifig inside it and it kind of seems feasible compared to mini doll, like the Friends dolls. So we have a little bit of variability with that, but generally around that scale. And then I have some just examples to show you, different things that I've built. I did build a little bit of mock-up last night that I think will speak to kind of what furniture really can do for a modular if we're talking about buildings or structures. So let's get into it, shall we? All right, so first things first, as you can see, I've got this base plate with a number of different things on it. I'm going to start from here. This is all interior stuff. Some of this is old, some of it's new, and some of it is borrowed. And unfortunately, I'm going to finish that. Some of it is blue. These, you'll notice, are from the Upside Down. Okay, these came from the Upside Down, these actual parts or chair builds. I really wanted to showcase these because I think it's a really clever build, specifically because it incorporates the actual chair piece. So if you take the chair, you've got some 2x3 plates on either side symmetrically, and then your little arch piece there with the 1x1, and then just some 1x2 plates and 1x1 plates built in between. Really, that chair is pretty much all that's holding that together. Let's see if I can put it back the right way. One stud there. So for a very minimal piece count, you've got a pretty cool armchair. So I didn't design this, obviously. This is from from Upside Down, but I thought they were really cool and worth mentioning. So that's a cute little design. Definitely a good way to go if you want like a little lounge chair or something. And I've got a couch that I'm going to show you in a little bit. So that's pretty neat. And then we've got this I wanted to show off. This is a sink that I'm leaving parts behind. This is like 10 years old. I made this. I just had some parts laying around. I was building a building, a large building, and I said I want to do like a farm style sink or freestanding sink. And I did it in black because that's what I had at the time. It's very simple. Very easy to put together. It's just a brick with some plates, a couple cones, and inside we have those shelf pieces or the panel pieces, the one brick tall panel pieces and panel corners. So you can see here some grates, or one grate in this case, the 1x2 tile there with the grate pattern in it, and then just on the back, just to illustrate some cylindrical shapes for the hot and cold there, and then just a red and blue stud with a tap and a tile on the top, and that's your sink. Not much to it, very basic, very simple, but in like a farm style house or something like that, that could go really well. I did it in black because that's what I had. Moving on up to the east side, we have our refrigerator. This has been kind of hanging out in my Santa's Manhattan workshop for a while now in the kitchen. I did steal it from another building that I had made for that project just because it was expedient to do so. Not much to this. You've got 3 1x2 hinges on the side here, some plates and some tiles, 2x tiles there. Got a 1x2 at the bar for the handle. The back is just a 4x6 plate, and as you can see, I put the shiny version of the silver grate on the bottom to represent like the bottom of the fridge. And we've got some food stuffs stacked in there a little bit. But it's just tiled on the inside, tiled on the face, and just hinged in place. On the bottom, I got creative because there's really no way to put a big box on something and have it be pretty sturdy. So I took the 1x1 Erling bricks, or Snoop bricks, the ones with the indentation, and I kind of backed those up with a 1x2 tile, or 1x2 plate rather, and sandwiched it in between the bottom sections here so that when I stand it up, it just kind of locks in place, and it's pretty sturdy like that with just those two. So nothing else. You can put it right up against a wall, front, back, sides, and it works pretty well. So that's my refrigerator. Got a stove here. Just leaving behind parts because I stuck it down to the plate. Take our little fry pan off the stove. This is another old one. I've had this one for a minute, and I used the classic clock and control panel, the 1x2 tiles, printed tiles for that. The face of it here is just one of those little cubbies, the 2 brick by 2 brick cubby with the door there. I forget what they're called. Brian can correct me later. And then flanking that on either side are snoop bricks, 1x1 snoop bricks on top of each other, stacked on top and tiled. And then it's just 1x3s and 1x2x2s in the back, and some tiles to finish it off. Historically, I would have gone with the little 1x1 round, kind of like the feet, the 1x1 rounds, but only tiles to signify the cooktop surfaces. But I'm going to say that this one's a little bit more modern. It's got that glass cooktop, not a gas one by any means, but certainly it's got that old style door with a more modern top to it. So that's our stove and oven combo. Next up is the bookshelf. Bookshelf I actually redid today because I like doing things lots of times and over again. I needed to redesign it a little bit, like that. So, got these old school books, and all it is our 1x2 black profile brick. There is a proper term for brick, the one with the brick facade. I forget the actual name. It's a type of profile brick, but the true profile brick is this one with the 2 sides that are the vertical striations and the horizontal striations. So we've got those, and then just some 2x6 plate. You can see that it's partially occluded here. And what I did was so that when we put things on the shelf, like these old school books, they have something to lean against in the back. So all that are these 2x2 with the shelf plate. I guess we'll call them snoot plates in that capacity, but there's 2 in the back on the bottom and 2 hanging vertically down from the top. And that gives you a little bit of a backdrop. So as you can see, everything kind of spills out when you tip it forward. So having it hollow in the back would kind of be a pain. So to fix that and not interfere with the actual space where the books go, because it's kind of a tight tolerance to keep it to scale, that's the solution for that. On the top one, I just put our little camera here on the top shelf. It's not really a tall enough space for books. And then for no apparent reason, a human skull. One adult human head, courtesy of Matt Healy. So that's our bookshelf. Breaks up the room a little bit. You can push it almost to the wall. I kind of like the fact that you've got the studded out area in the back, which forces you to not have it against a wall. A lot of the bookshelves that we have in our own homes wouldn't be like smack up against a wall because it would be likely to lean over. So having a little space there, creating a little space, kind of makes it a little bit more natural. That's our bookshelf. Lost our pan there. Flipping around, come to our table. Now the table is very simple. This is just one table that I had in one building. There are many different types of tables. Trying not to tip this banana over. As you can see, I use this space type piece here. It's like I think of it like a piston that's permanently fixed, but makes a great table, or a table support if you're going to do one as opposed to 4 legs or 5 legs. But just as an individual support, that 2x2 has a lot of clutch power, so it hangs on. Above that is just a 4x4 plate, and then topping it off are these, they're 3x3 plates with a curve, one curved corner, so it's like a quarter hemisphere 3x3, just to give the table a little bit more height and to spread it out a little bit. We've just got some rando plates and newspapers and mail and cups and things stuck to it, just for scale. Obviously the plate is almost half the size of the table, so that's way out of scale, but you know, we can't do much about that. But that's a pretty sturdy little design, and when you couple it with these chairs, a minifig can sit with their legs underneath the table at that height. So it's probably, I don't know, I didn't bring any spare brick to kind of measure it, but it's probably around 3 bricks high, plus or minus a plate or 2. For our chairs, I designed 3 different versions. Very simple, same chair across the board. If you don't have a lot of parts, or you don't have a lot of cylindrical or circular parts, just a 2x2 brick will serve as the bottom of a chair. I don't know if anybody remembers, in like the 70s, they had these big square bottom chairs that kind of look like that. And I thought that was one option. If you're short on brick, you can do that. Still fits under the table nicely. And that's a 1 brick plus the chair, so it's like a brick and a plate high. Same deal with this, only we've upgraded to 4 chair legs. There's not a lot of space there, so they're kind of a little bit crowded as far as chair legs go, but it does do the effect pretty well. And that's just 4 cones. And then lastly, if you were finding that the chairs were too tall at brick height, you could drop it down by a stud and just do individual stacked studs for your chair legs. So in this case, we've got a double stack, two plate high of the that gunmetal gray, or that silver metallic gray kind of color for our chair legs. And it's a little bit lower if you wanted to, let's say, put a mini doll or something on the chair, or if you had a shorter table. Now we've got lots of lamps. Obviously this is an exterior lamp. I'm gonna leave that there, but lots of different ways to do lamps. Usually you can get away with just sticking the lamp to something. Sometimes if you use these Technic cylinders, these Technic bushing type cylinders, it helps to have a plate that you can stick to, a snoot plate, or a jumper, something that you can just stack that on. Obviously, you see I've used 2 different types of cylinders here, one with the slot, one without. Obviously, if I had 2 of the one without, it would look a little bit better. But all that is just our trans yellow 1x1 cylinder with the 2x2 parabola is what the disc is actually called, and then a tile on top of that. It's a very simple light, very kind of old school look, but if I turn it this way so you don't see the big hole in the bottom, that's a neat way to just do a light in a short footprint, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. If you want to go a little bit bigger, or you wanted to do something in a little bit more textured, we've got here is just an antenna, 5LL antenna, I believe it is, and on top of it are 3 cylinders stacked. You can see the tip of the antenna there kind of popping out, and then Above that is a 2x2 translucent round brick, followed by a 1x1 translucent round plate, another parabola, and another translucent tile on top of that. So the reason for the 1x1 round plate underneath is so that you can actually stick the parabola right to the cylinder. Now, if this antenna had extended farther past, if it was taller, I think it's actually 4L, not 5. If that had extended past, you really wouldn't need that. It could pass right through the cylinder and then go straight into the parabola. But without it, using what's on hand, that's a quick way to throw up a light. It's got a neat little translucent piece on top, and the body of the light is meant to represent your illuminating part. So that's some inside stuff. I'm going to jump to some outside stuff real quick just because it's here, and then we're going to move to some other neat techniques. Outside stuff, like I said, here's a street lamp. Probably seen these with the modulars, obviously. Same principle. It's just the lamp post, 2x2 round, a stud to give you a little surface there, and then your parabola on top of that. This one I didn't cap off. You could, you don't have to. Some of the modulars do, some don't. But it's very simple. The house that I took some of these things out of, I've since dismantled, but on top of it, I had two things. I had a vent stack for, we'll say, the chimney, based on where the chimney would be. And I had a weather vane. You don't really see weather vanes on buildings anymore, on houses, certainly not, but occasionally. So I made two of those way back when. This was, the brick portion of this was actually embedded into the house. It actually sat down into the roof line. It's actually a mount for like it's got the Technic pin there, so I've just put for like a propeller, one of the old school mounts, and actually that whole brick is one piece, so it's just a 2x2 brick, and that's its own piece. It's kind of real old school. You can see by the dust on it. So to sit atop that is just a 1x1 cylinder. Same thing, same principle, 2x2 round with a 1x1 plate on top of it. And then to cap it off, I've got a little bit larger parabola here. It's the next size up, and that kind of sits over, makes like a little chimney cap, if you will. And then we've got our weather vane. So the weather vane, I've seen lots of different designs. I thought this was cute. I used the two teeth. It's a four-sided snoot brick, the 1x1 snoot brick with the lever in the back there, the antenna in the back, a tap and a cone, and again one of those 3L or 4L shafts there with another cone securing it down to this jumper plate on top of a 2x2 brick. And that's the weather vane. So it doesn't pivot the way a weather vane would. It just kind of rotates horizontally, which I guess is enough, but all right. So that's this stuff. Next thing. This is the thing that I built more or less early this morning, but it's two sides, so two halves of the same kitchen, basically. And the thought was I wanted to do something a little bit classic and then a little bit contemporary, and give you some options to basically have both in the same place at the same time. Obviously you wouldn't, you'd pick one, but this will give you some context and some little bit of compare and contrast. So again, I'm going to try not to knock all the stuff over. Here we have our modular kitchen, right? You can see the two different sides here. We've got a very classic look with the wallpaper over here on the side with Mr. Wayne. And over here with the red brick backing, you've got Mrs. Wayne there, and very, very modern, very clean look. And what I tried to do with this was throw all the stuff away. I tried to build it in a way that I would want my kitchen to be functional. So it would be lots of usable counter space, lots of storage space, right? So I'm just going to knock all the stuff off anyway, so I'm going to take it off. but we've got some cool stuff. The cabinets on the modern side here, they're just open faced. You could, I do have jars and cups in them, but you could they're just windows. They're normal windows, the 2 tall windows, 2 brick tall. And if you were to rotate the handles of the mugs, you could actually put the little piece of glass in there that sits in the face of that. But typically, when you think of these open cabinets, or like very IKEA type block storage, it's all very open, so I didn't bother putting the glass in. The cabinets themselves are just 1x2 snoot bricks with the studs on just the one side, and then a jumper plate covering them. It's very common. You see it a lot in the modulars. You see it a lot in lots of MOCs do this for furniture. And all it is just 2 stacked bricks and 2 stacked snoot bricks with the jumpers on it to symbolize like drawers, double stacked drawers. Here I had one of those newer bricks. It's like a 1x1 brick, but it's double stacked and has the studs on the face, so it's a snoot brick, but it's 1 plate shorter than 2 bricks stacked. Okay, so it's like, what's that? It's like 5 plates tall. Because of that, I turned the jumper plate sideways. So it's meant to represent like that skinny cabinet that goes next to the stove, and it's got all the spice racks and stuff in it that you can pull out. Next to that, I actually used a sideways panel piece, two brick tall panel piece, and inside there, I know it's kind of hard to see, but inside there is a 1x2 grate plate, right? And that's like a cutting board or a drain rack or something that would be kind of flat, vertical storage like that. It's a very modern look. I know it's probably a little difficult to see because the countertop is tiled black, but the fruit bowl that's sitting there, instead of just tiling the whole thing, I always try to put a couple jumper plates of the same color, unless I was doing a pattern, which gives me some places to actually stack things, because in a normal building you're going to have, or a normal house, you're going to have dishes in the sink, you're going to have stuff on the counter. So if it's all tiled, as you can see, all the stuff just kind of like falls out constantly. So it makes sense to have a few things where you can stick it down, just like you would do a floor. Okay. Moving back in time to the older style. I'm going to take the banana off because you get the point. There's a banana there. Have a little coffee pot. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to put it on here. It's probably easier to see on the white background. Got a little coffee pot there, and all it is the technically the color is trans brown. We all call it trans black. It's like a smoked glass minifig head, hollow minifig head, with a 1x1 plate with a clip and a tooth to represent a coffee pot. I have a true translucent one that I use for the empty coffee pot, and the tinted one to represent that it's got some coffee in it. Then we've got real old school cabinets here. As you can see, I've got some jars in them, and the cabinet doors open up. This one here is just like the oven I showed you earlier. It's a glass face. Real old kitchens would have like one cabinet that had a glass face, and that was like the place where you put the nice stuff if you didn't have a hutch. So in there we have our fine dining red cup, traditional red cup. Beneath that, we've got our classic drawers that kind of pull out. Okay, all of these are three studs wide by 2 studs deep. So I just love throwing stuff. So spacing can become difficult. You might have to double them up to get even numbers. But as you can see here, I had to end up finishing the wall essentially with a 1x brick because it was 9 and it didn't add up to the distance I needed. But those are really cool. They're very useful. I actually ended up using, from the Batman set, I used the wallpaper piece here for the backsplash in the kitchen. I thought that had they were just lying around. I just grabbed them, and I thought that was a really good use for that. it's very common in older houses to see like a unique patterned backsplash above the countertop, kind of in contrast to the red brick of the modern side. And then I thought a nice tile pattern, just 1x1 tiles to give us a nice, let me see how far I can tip this without, yeah, there we go. Give us a nice countertop pattern. You know, it could be butcher block or it could be anything really. And that's our kitchen. Now I did do a little bit of crown molding on the old school side and a little bit of a modern look on the new one. I did try to tile it a little bit so you could see what the tiling would look like up to it. But if you end up going this route with the snoot bricks with the jumper on the front, you'll notice that I couldn't tile all the way up to them because it takes up the space that the jumper would, or that the tile would fill. So just be aware of that. If you're going to do this and you want to tile up to it cleanly, what you need to do is you need to raise it by 1 plate, okay? And then the really fun part was the sink. Now, I was going to do my due diligence and find out where this sink comes from because it's an actual piece unto itself, not just the faucet, but the sink piece itself, and Brian will correct me later. But that sink was really fun to design because this part in the front here is a 2x4 tile on the side, not connected bottom, top, left, or right. It's only connected in the rear. And the way I did it, I'm going to show you in a minute, gave me the ability to have kind of like a little kick plate underneath there. So it looks like that recessed base plate that you see on the bottom of cabinets. And I didn't continue that throughout this because we're doing different styles here, but had I done that, I probably would have done that same design all the way across to maintain that distance. So without totally trashing it, we'll just rebuild the whole thing, shall we? All right, so we've taken our sink out, just the window left. Now what I ended up doing to build the sink, I'm going to dump the water out because you get the point. This is one piece. I don't know if this was like Scala or Fabuland or what this was. I forget what this actually comes from, but that's one piece, and it's actually molded that way. It's molded like a sink. I think it was Scala, old school. But it's in really great shape. I have no idea where I got it from. It can't be that old because the word Lego is facing the same way all the way across, but that's one piece. So what I ended up doing was putting a brick on the bottom to space past the sink here, right? And then I took, I'm just going to pull one of these apart so you can see. So we've got our angular snoot plate here, 2x1 or 1x2. And then I stacked a 1x2 plate on top of that. I got 2 of those. And then I attached those to the bottom of the brick. So we've got our sink piece and a 1x4 brick, and then our double stack here to give us a little bit of a mount surface. This next part, again, another 1x4 brick, a 1x4 plate, and then, let me just pop this off here so you can see, 2 of these are 1x2 plates with the rail on it. And then that is sandwiched between another 1x4, okay? Throw that on the 1x4 plate. So now this whole bit here sticks on like that. And you can see that the rail is facing the bottom of where the sink will be. This used to be taller. I had it was in a larger structure, so I had it built up a little bit. But I found that it wasn't really close to where minifigs needed to stand to work at a sink. So we dialed it down a little bit. And then the last piece is the 2x4 tile. And that fits right on top of there. And I know the sides are open. Obviously, when it's inside, you're not going to see the sides, so that's okay. But with a minimal lip right there, you close in the front of your sink. And it's a really cool look because The rail gives you that recessed kick plate look. There's another part, and I'm going to put the last 1x4 is just to build up the bottom, so it has something to sit on. Now, the reason that I put the rail where I did was because when I put this back in that spot, I don't know if I got a plate here that I can show you. That's a sponge, by the way, little 1x1. It's not a cheese, it's a sponge and soap, and then this molded faucet, which is pretty cool. Let's see if we can see it this way. So, when I put this down onto where it was on that plate in the kitchen, the rail piece sits right in between two studs at that distance, and it will fit perfectly down. So what does that do? It gives us more stability on the front because it's just that one connection point. It really sticks it down. It's got a lot of clutch power. Again, you're forcing the rail between two studs. Technically illegal. I don't really care. It works really well, and it gives the kick plate a really solid surface and really good clutch power to connect to. So when I plug that in, it's going to wedge down. Probably should put all the stuff back on it first, because I'll never get it out again. I'll put our little soap and our little sponge. There we go. And we'll sneak that guy in there. The other thing I like about doing it this way is the countertop is perfectly level with basically any type of cabinetry that you use, and with a tile on top of it, obviously, or a jumper if that's the route you go. If you're going to do overhead cabinets like these, usually they're set back. You can see that the lower cabinets, like in any house, the lower cabinets stick out full distance and the upper cabinets are recessed back. I usually do 2 bricks between the lower cabinets and the upper cabinets, and then have them actually integrated into the wall, so that there's that recess back. Especially if you use the same kinds top and bottom, you want to have one staggered. Okay. So that's our modular kitchen and all its ish. Now comes my favorite part: toilets. There are lots of ways to make toilets. This is the toilet that I took out of the house I mentioned earlier. It comes in several parts, right? But predominantly these two. This was an original thing that I'd come up with a while ago, and I've since redesigned it in a lot of different buildings. I've got different models and things of toilets. But this makes a great toilet. Very clunky, very bulky, very old school kind of toilet with the tap here for the flusher. And the way that you achieve this is you don't have to use... Let me roll that back for a second. So I went with a 2x2 cylinder or 2x2 round brick with the 2x2 tile with the hole in the center, right? Gives a little bit of depth. The color adds a little bit of depth. It's like inside the bowl. That's what I used before I had this. And this is the planter piece. If anybody that's seen my 8-wide modular building has seen that this is out in front of it, another one of those, and it's just the one with the one stud in the center. You can replace this with that, and it basically achieves the same purpose. It definitely gives it a good toilet look. It's got yep, that's definitely a toilet bowl. You know what you're looking at here, right? So whether you do something like this, or the planter, or even this Johnny Thunder series pith hat. I think, and correct me later, Matt, if I'm wrong, when we did the hospital at Matt Healy's house, I think I used one of these to make the toilet in one of the hospital rooms, and I used a pith hat because that's what was there. Definitely still works with the toilet seat. I know it's a life preserver. I'm calling it a toilet seat. So that has the same basic shape, basic size. The only complexity, if you use the pith hat, is it's got a stud on the bottom. It's not an anti-stud the way the planter is, right? So you have to get a little bit creative. Now you could just kind of wedge it in between 4 studs where it is, or you could find a way to put a little pin in there, or you know, something holding it, maybe that bar with the little angle on it, you could put like that, sticking out of the back of the toilet base here. So there's lots of ways to do it, but those are the 3 methods that I use predominantly in variety in a lot of different houses. And you can find, with the exception of the pith hat, you can find them in different colors, and it's easy to really match your decor. What I will say is, if you do the planter, it's going to go in between the 2 studs. It's going to be mounted as though it were on a jumper. But you can't put it on a jumper because then it'll be too tall for the rest of the toilet. Okay. The toilet itself, very simple. Okay. All it is bricks and plates and 1 life preserver, or 1 toilet seat there. So I'll pull that apart. You can see it's a 2x2 brick with a 2x2 jumper and a 1x1 round plate, and another 1x2 jumper, and the jumper is to centralize the toilet seat cover or the life preserver there and hold on to it, but also give you a surface to mount the upper. Now, could I have done a 1x2 plate with 2 studs instead of the jumper? Yeah, but this gives that tile look, so it's a little bit cleaner from where it attaches, like so. The upper part is just 2x3 plates, then 1x3 plates, and a 1x2 plate, so that I could get this 1x1 with the horizontal clip on it to hold onto that tap there. That's just a normal tap. And I like the fact that the tap can like rotate, so it's like if you have one of those toilets where the handle does look like a tap and it kind of rotates, that mirrors that. The back is just a brick, and I like to give a little bit of depth to the tank. I know we could have done like the 2x or the 1x2 sloped tiles, but I thought this square look was kind of neat. So that's just giving it a little bit of a step so that it's got a little depth. And there's our toilet. Anyone who has seen my Santa's Manhattan workshop, I've got part of that. So part of Santa's workshop here, I'm going to take this wall out so you can see. Just lay it down. Here's a couch. And I mentioned a couch earlier. The couch, like those chairs that I took out of the upside down. Let's see, we don't really need the newspaper on there at the moment. Very simple design. It's just a lot of stacked plates and 2 arches with the 1x1. I usually do 1x1 round plates to give it a little bit of a standoff off the ground, and then tile the top. So in this particular version, I've got those arches for the back, and I also have them for the armrests of the couch itself. And even though the angle's not quite right, I put some cheese wedges in there, 1x1 slopes, slope tiles, just to give it a little bit more of an angular look to finish out the roundness. And then there's just plates on the front and tiles in the back so that minifigs can get up and down as they please. Of course, that was in Santa's workshop here, facing the window. Another thing that I put in here that I thought was really cool was the fireplace. So I can't really take the fireplace out without destroying the whole shebang, but I'm going to hold it up for you. So that fireplace there, it's all brick built. That was really fun, and like I'd shown in the other video, when I make the mantle pieces, I make them modular so that you can trade them out, put something else in there, and all it is just a recess with a 2x4 plate on it. Okay. The mantle itself actually wraps around. It's all brick built. Because there are no profile brick in 1x1, I've had to like intersperse them so that you have, your 2x2 and you round a corner and it's not quite textured, but you get the idea. and that's all red brick built. The front of it actually is the robot arms, and they're just holding the axe and the pike there with the little red and green jewels on it. That's just to symbolize like that grate that would be in front protecting it. And then we've just got some 1x1 round plates with the hollow ones, not the solid ones, but the hollow ones, and then I've stuck those down and put some flames on top of them. Yeah, so it's another planter over there you can see. And the desk is very standard. Yeah, I've got my two of my buildings from Dragonshire. My corner buildings. And then inside this apartment, you can see one thing I really didn't show is beds. I didn't really show you how to do beds, but we can save that for another time. I've got a bathroom with a similarly styled toilet. I've got what I would assume is a single bed for one minifig, and then some drawers. I did do something unique with the sink in this bathroom because it was so tiny. I used the corner panel pieces, the 1x1 panel pieces, and I put them at a 45-degree angle. So it's actually a corner sink that juts away from the wall, and it's just held in place by a cylinder with that one tap there. But it juts away from the wall on a jumper plate, just enough to get past it, and it's on a kitty corner, or it's on a 45-degree angle. My city pizza, you've all seen this from pictures from Brick Fair. The upper floor is a bumblebee apartment, we'll say, and it's got a very similarly styled bed, the same kind of kitty corner sink, and the same kind of toilet as I showed you earlier, and that's kind of what they look like in action. The fun part about this, I don't know if anybody else makes their own curtains. I make my own curtains, and the fabric that comes in like the capes for the superheroes, it's not quite long enough depending on the size of your building. So I make my own, and all it is just a piece of fabric that I have cut and punched holes in the top of so that I could run the rod or the hose, the flex hose, run that through it. And then for our curtain ties, I guess they're called, I used a tire. And the tire works pretty well, so if I can hold that up for you, to kind of cinch the curtains. And it's just cloth wrapped on the hose that wraps around the apartment. So lots of cool things. Oh, I didn't show you the grill. Here's my gas grill, propane grill. It's a 1x1 white minifig head with a tap behind it. Two of the little hinge bricks, 1x2 hinge bricks, and then those long 2x4 slope tiles with a 1x2 with a bar in front of it, and it just hinges up. Inside I've got 1x1 round translucent red studs that are covered by our grates. I did want to replace the black grates with like the metallic silver ones. I think it looks a little bit better. And then just some 1x2 inverted slope bricks there with the 1x1 round plates to give it a little bit of a lift off the ground. And this is actually approximately the right height for a minifig. Probably a little bit big. I don't know. Grills are pretty big nowadays, but it just occurred to me that I didn't show you that. If you have ideas for other furniture type things or household type things that you want to see, let me know. Comment on the video on YouTube. Anybody who is joining us, thank you for joining us from YouTube. Please like and subscribe. If you have ideas for other tutorials that you want to see, please let me know and I will do them.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Tiffany.
The little drawers.
Yes.
That's an individual actual piece, right? Like a.
Yes, it is. And they've been around for a while. They haven't changed much. and some of the utensils will actually fit inside them.
Oh god, it's so cute. That's all so cute.
But yeah, they're really cool. They fit inside the little cabinet sections, and the cabinets can have either the hinged doors, or they can have these, and then they fit in both. They have little like rail guides inside, so that you can do the drawers.
Nice.
But yeah, they still make them, they still produce them, they still use them. I think the last set that I saw them in a different color was the detective's office.
Awesome. Brian, did you know what that sink piece was from?
Yes, originally it was from Fabuland.
Fabuland.
Back in the 80s. Yes. It's made its appearance every once in a great while, but you generally don't see that piece anymore.
Out of production, right?
Nowadays, I don't think so. Or at least nowadays you kind of brick-built sinks using the low wall and the corner pieces. Is the last time I've seen them that way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can be done.
I've also seen people get really crazy and use stormtrooper helmets as toilet bowls as well.
I don't like the shape though. It's like not. I mean, you can do it, but you'd have to turn it backwards so that you didn't see like the
Yeah,
face.
that was the idea.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions, comments, flails? We got our flails. All right. Thank you all for joining us for another Tuesday tutorial.
Yeah. Thank you everyone. Be here next week for Tuesday tutorial with Cam. I'm your host, Cam, and we will be doing. What are we doing next week? What's our castle?
Castles.
Cool. All right. So next week, Tuesday tutorial, castle. Certainly, we've got a lot on the plate, but we're going to keep pumping it out. If you've got ideas, let us know. And we're going to wrap it up, but as always, be good to each other. Be good to yourself. Stay away from the damn toilet paper. You don't need any more. And keep building, keep having fun. Okay, bye.
Bye.